Hello and welcome. You are watching AIL TV, and this is a man called Jay. In this video, it is exciting again. You remember in the last video, I had Nobert Mputu, a journalist and writer. He talked about so many things about Congo DRC. Congo DRC, in my opinion, is the giant of Africa, but that is a topic for another day. And in this video, he's come back again with another guest. They are going to talk about so many things. And without wasting so much time, let me introduce to you our guest. So, Norbert, I know everybody knows you now because we had a very interesting topic last time. And now we have got another guest by the name of Sly Mido. So please, let me start with you, Sly, because I want to know what do you do and which part of Congo are you from? Are you from Kinshasa? Are you from the east? Or where are you from?
Thank you very much, Jay, for having us. My name is Kai, and I'm from Kinshasa. I was born in Kinshasa in DR Congo, and I'm now living in the UK in Southampton. So I am a Congolese activist. I'm also a project coordinator and a designer, and I've been part of an organization called the Congolese Action Youth Platform, which was founded around 2011, which has led for about 11 years now, a campaign for the recognition of the genocide in DRC that we've coined as the Genocost. And last year, for the first time after 10 years of campaigning, the DRC president, Felix Tshisekedi, has honored that campaign by hosting the first official commemoration in DRC. So for us, it's a big step forward. However, there's still a long way to go before we obtain justice and reparation that should come following that recognition. So I'll be happy to tell you about a bit more about it later on in the program, I'm sure.
Okay, now let us go to Norbert Mbumputu, the man with so much knowledge. So tell us, what do you have for us in this video?
No, I think first, thank you for inviting us to share whatever we have. I think the most important when we are talking about the Congo, we could not avoid to talk about the now ongoing 25 years now. There is a war in these big countries, and probably we need to dig more to contribute our comments. How could we contribute for the end of the war in Congo? So I think this is the big issue and the big issue in that country.
Mm. So, you know, you guys, you are trying your best. On the other hand, you have got President Tshisekedi promising. I'm sure he did promise a lot. Do you actually believe that he can deliver what he promised?
I think this is this is the big question. When we got elections, political parties or leaders, they come in front of the population with their manifesto. And there is some wise advice or something I just pick up from from Professor Lumumba, the Kenyan Professor Lumumba, and he says something interesting about African election. He say the problem in African is that people who got the power have no ideas, and the people who got their brain full of ideas have no powers. And when elections come, it's amazing to see how African people they jump on people who have power and no ideas. But I think the problem we need to do, even if President Tshisekedi promised a lot and said a lot of things during the elections is people with ideas need really to sit down together to pick up what President Tshisekedi said and to question ourselves how could make those ideas become realities. So I think we needed to contribute because from ideas, from promise and their realization, there is most of the time a gap. And it's only leaders, only grassroots must also work to feed and to fill those vacuums. So this is where we are now. Of course, as you said, he made a lot of promise. He promised a lot, but now on the ground, especially now is the second mandate. So it's important for us to start thinking, how could we contribute to make all those promises become realities?
Mm. Okay, so Sly, you actually add on to what Nobert is saying? Because at the moment, no matter how he tries, there is a lot of things to do. First of all, he had to contain with peace. We will come to that because Nobert sent me some information that the Blue Helmet peacekeepers, they are leaving. Now, what do you think that needs to be done here?
Hmm. I would like to answer your question by starting with the fact that you do not become president because you wanted to. You become a president because you chose to campaign to occupy that position. So therefore, you cannot use the excuse of the size of the burden being too big to not being able to live up to the challenge, especially if you've been someone who's been in the political scene for as long as our current president, who's been in your position, saying all the things that we are saying today about the previous regime. So, to go back to the situation of the peace in Eastern Congo, I'm not going to pretend that this is an easy situation that is going to be easily solved. But I believe the first thing that there needs to be, and that I personally still lacking, is a political will to put an end to it. Without the political will, we cannot move forward. I'll give you an example. We have generals of troops in Eastern DRC where the front is, where the M23 troops are occupying and killing civilians. And part of our land is occupied. And under our constitution, or actually that's under international law, it is the duty of our military to ensure the territorial integrity of our country, meaning any inch of it occupied is a trespass that they need to resolve. And yet we hear a general telling us that he's been ordered to be on standby. So when the army is being told to be on standby, the army cannot be blamed for being incapable of putting out the enemy. The will need to come for the politics because the general direct line of command is the politics. To be more precise, the commander in chief is the president. If the president says stand by, what can you expect? He can give all the speeches in the world saying, yes, I will solve the problem. I would finish off those rebels. I will take, but the order that is given directly to our military is stand by.
Okay,
That's the
so
situation of the DR Congo at the moment.
all right, okay. Now I know we are kind of running to the almost quarter of the program. You have got an event coming up on the 2nd of August, and this is when I can even see you are wearing a T-shirt there, General Cost. What is this event all about? Can you please talk about this event?
Yes, certainly. The General Course is an event that is about commemorating the lives of the millions of people that we have lost in Congo throughout this war. We have lost millions of people, not just throughout this war, but as Norbert mentioned last week, for those of you who listen, during the colonial rule of Leopold II. half of our population was wiped away. It's estimated between 10 and 60 million Congolese were killed. And back then, that was to obtain rubber. History, looking at the current conflict. Yeah, sorry. Okay, sorry, I'm going to carry on. Uh, as we are analyzing the conflict and the history of the DRC to try to understand what is happening, we realize that what is happening today in Congo is a repeat of what has happened in 1885. The Congolese people are brutally killed for the exploitation of natural resources. 100 years ago, it was for the robbers that will be powering the automobile boom so that we can have buses, bike, and vehicle around Europe and around the world because Congo back then had the largest reserve, natural reserve of rubber. And today, 100 years on, guess what? Is for the coltan that powers our phone, that powers the military equipment, the drones that are killing people at the moment in Gaza or in Ukraine, or the future drones that will be waging war in the African continent, all depend on the chip that require the processor and the cobalt that comes from the Congo. And to move it further, now that we are moving into the green transition, those electric cars that are supposed to save the environment will come at the cost of the blood of Congolese children, because that is the reality of people living in Katanga at the moment, in Kolwezi, where a recent report has shown that over 60% of women were born with were having birth defects in communities near where the copper was mined. And without Congo's copper, Congo, which is the number one producer of copper in the world, there is no Tesla car, there is no green revolution, there is no transition. I'm not saying that we should not exploit the copper. I'm saying it's about time that we humanize this green transition, that it does not come at the expense of lives of Congolese people. And so to go back to Congo and Genecoast, what we've realized is that often when people look, and if your readers or watchers are looking online on the Congolese conflict, they'll often hear some colonial term being used to describe it. Terms such as ethnic war, tribal conflict, tribal tensions between communities. These are terms specifically designed to remove any link of Western or imperial power to the situation of the DR Congo. If half of our population was wiped away 100 years ago, it wasn't because Congolese hated themselves. It was because the West needed to access our resources, and they wanted to do it in spite of our life, at the expenses of Congolese life. And if at the moment millions of people are dying, it's not because Congolese hate themselves. It's because there are Western companies that are funding troops, arming them with guns to exploit us
Okay.
for economic gain.
Yeah. Right. So now, um, Nobert, there has been 20,000 blue helmets in Congo, and now they are leaving. So, what does that mean to DRC?
I think it's important for us to learn lessons from the past. And as Mido explained, resuming what I told last time with the Congo of King Leopold II, with its 10 million of Congolese dead, we got the same situation now. And it's important for us to learn also from the very now history. The war now in Congo starts really in 1994 with the Rwanda genocide, when most of the Rwandese crossed the borders, and some of them were genocide, and some of them not. And then when the now regime came in power in Rwanda, they decided really to invade east of Congo because they thought that those former Rwandese military could really attack them again. And when they came in the Congo, by that time, the international community, the businessmen were also in search of the new mineral for the everything Mido just explained. So what is important is just the now ongoing war got a lot of episodes. And the latest episode is the one people are commemorated by Genocost. Is the one started on the 2nd of August 1998. So that was 1 year after the change of the regime when Laurent Desire Kabila came on the head of the FDL, what was a kind of network of military group, but the FDL was led by the Rwandese, Ugandese, Burundese army. So that is the second war we are now suffering. And that make also almost 10,000 Congolese people dead. And the commemoration starts by most of our young people from London is very, very important. I told the last time about the project I'm working on about how really Edmond Morel, who was just a journalist, how he fought against King Leopold II atrocities in the Congo. And that is what really most of our young people are now doing by commemorating the Genocost on the 2nd of August, just to remind the Congolese and the international community to say, look, something worse happened there. And you are talking about the peacekeeper. Again, the worst of those 20,000 peacekeepers, they are leaving the Congo, but they didn't finish the job. And why? Because they made the same mistake. It's the second time that we got the peacekeeper in the Congo. During the first Congolese crisis after the independence that brought to the assassination of Premier Minister Patrice Lumumba and his two companions, Joseph Okito and Maurice Mpolo, on the 17th of January 1961. The peacekeeper came also in the Congo, 20,000 of them. They left the Congo after 4 years, again without finishing the job. So this is the second time that they are leaving without finishing the job because the war is still continuing, not only in the east of the Congo, but we got also a military group around the capital, Kinshasa. So now this is a big question, how that vacuum will be filled, because we need really to be prepared. We need to have a strong army. Unfortunately, again, history is not being learned. At the beginning of this war in 1996, the general who was by that time the head of the army, General Eluki, said, please give the money to the military, give the weapon to the soldier so the soldier will do the job. It seems
Yeah.
that the same
Okay.
causes up the same effect.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. While talking about the peacekeeping force in DRC, you see, the United Nations will say, "Well, we are peacekeepers. We are not supposed to engage in war because peacekeepers they're everywhere. You find them in Bangladesh, they're in Somalia, they're everywhere. They are there to keep the peace." Now, when it comes to military, this is where the question maybe needs to be put to the government: that does the DRC have enough force of the army to contain whatever problem that is coming? Let me show you one example here. I think I might have it here. Maybe it's here. Let me see. No, that's another thing. Sorry, I need now. Right. So now you see here, this is just a small bandit group, Mobondo, which is causing problem in the Western Congo, and this is the problem, just because the government is raising taxes, and these guys are saying no, we don't want to. But no, but you told me there are plenty of these small bandits groups fighting in that. So can the Congolese army really contain this kind of situation? Anyone can answer this. So Sly can actually
Yeah,
go.
I think, as I said, the problem is not the Congolese army. It's just what really politicians they give it to the army for the army to do the job. So this is the most important problem. If you are not giving to the army the weapon they need, That's really so. There is a kind of a political will that needs to be behind. And you are talking about the Mombondo. The Mombondo is really a big problem, and because it's just about 100 kilometers away from Kinshasa, the capital. And the way we expected that with the new government, the new Home Office Minister of DRC will try really to take another direction of how to solve this problem, because those really who was in the former government, it seems that they were really powerless. And let me mention a point. You know about the war, about the military group, either you go to the hard power to finish those military group, or you need really to adopt the soft power, or you need to adopt both. You know what happened when I went to finish with the lesson to learn from the Angola War. The Angola War went for almost 25, 30 years. And one of the big fight in Angola War was what they know they call the fight of Quinto Valley, where really you have almost 20,000 of militia and army fighting for 6 months. And by that time, Angola opened the talk with the USA, with the Cuba, with the USSR. So one time people are fighting, another side people are making a peace talk. So I think that is what we need to do now. The problem of a peace talk also about the Congolese is the president and the government must have really proper peace people and peace talker, people who knows exactly how really to push the agenda of the Congolese as a people and the Congo as a country. So if you don't have the right people to go negotiating, those negotiations would be against you. So that is what need to be done now.
Oh, okay. So Sly, um, you you guys, the Congolese, they have been fighting. The only thing that they fight on their own, because I have been in so many demonstrations years ago. You know, I am an African at heart. Wherever there is something happening, I am there if I'm available. Now, you are organizing this event, Genocost, which is a very good thing. But do you think, now to add on to Nobert, do you think that the government of Chisekedi needs a pressure group, and he has also to be ready to listen? Because as if we are going to borrow from Lumumba's speech, that the people with ideas, they don't have power. Now the people who have no idea, they've got the power. So what do you think that is really needed? Do we need a pressure group to pressurize these leaders, at least to give people a chance to say, to give them freedom to come and say, well, look, this is what we need. We need to hear from the government. What do you think that really should happen?
I think that everything that any people in the world has ever acquired has been through pressure groups. No government in this world ever gives people freedom, never gives people their rights. People have to fight for their rights. That's the principle under which we exist. So the government of Tshisekedi is no exception. They need a pressure group to keep up the pressure to hold them accountable, because you have to remember that the government is nothing more than the emanation of the people. The people are the one that give power to the government, and we need to give back people the power. And I like the quote you say, the people with ideas, don't have the power. I think yes, it's true in some extent, but it's not a rule in the other. Because the people that understand how power works, the people that understand the power that they do have, are the one that makes the world change. And we understand that even though we are thousands of miles away in London with no army, with no millions in our bank account, but we have a voice, we have an audience, and we have allies. And we know that through the power of the media, just like a simple journalist with a group of people was able to free Congo from the reigns of King Leopold 100 years ago, today, with the modern technology that we have, with the media platform like your own, we as individuals can definitely move things in Congo. We can move mountain. We can move public opinion because yes, countries have their own interests. Countries have no friend, but people, I believe in human solidarity. People want to be friends. People don't want to see suffering. People don't want to see blood spilled in their names. And if anything I've learned from doing this campaign for many years is that the people of Congo don't fight alone. Wherever we found ourselves in difficult position, there's always been non-Congolese, even non-African, more than willing to stand with us to help us move forward. And we got to where we are because we are not alone. By our own, we couldn't do it.
So now, let us talk briefly about the youth in Congo or wherever they are. What do you think the future of the youth in Congo, or is there any organization which looks after the youth in Congo? Because many leaders, they seem to concentrate on solving the problems that they have at hand, but they do not actually think that they need to groom people who will carry on leading the country. What is the youth situation in Congo? Nobert?
No, I think this is a very, very important because most there was during the Mobutu period a motto that said that the youth are the future of the Congo. But during our time in the university, we changed this motto. We said the youth are not the future of the country; they are the country now. So it's important. It's important because those young people in the Congo, they you can't imagine how really they are struggling. They are struggling to go to school. They are struggling to survive. And as you said, I think we are in a situation where there is a kind of lack of proper organization. You have some small organization sometimes dealing with the youth issue, but the most important thing that could be done for the youth is the education, is the primary education, the secondary education, and the university. And I think we still have a gap there. Even if, for example, in the last mandate, the president decided that the primary school will be free of charge. But it seems that, again, it was just a political message that need to be really implemented so that to become effective, because you can't just say that oh, you will not pay anymore any fees in the school without giving to those schools anything they need, books or whatever for them to be running proper the school. So there is a kind of gap, and we need to learn from others how they are delivered for the youth.
Right. So, Sly, if you were given, say, for example, an audience with President Tshisekedi, what would you say to him?
I will say to him that he needs to stand with Congo and not against it. If he stands with the people will stand with him, and there is no forces in this universe that is greater than a nation. But if he keeps on bowing to external pressure, which I know he gets many in this world, he will fall into the trap that many before him have fallen under, where you find yourself isolated because you refuse to provide hope to the people around you. You refuse to provide jobs to people around you. And now you find yourself having to pay people with minority of group around you to keep the other people away. And you are trapped because you have no one to go to when things go wrong, because you have nowhere to turn to when there is a crisis, when there is an attack. Whereas if you decide to be bold enough and to say, you know what, I've had enough. I'm going to use the very little I have, but I'm going to be clear with my people and say, this is where I want to go. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a real struggle. We are going to have to pay with our sweat and our blood. But if we stick with this, we will get there. We will get our freedom. We will get our independence. We will get our dignity back. Then the people will stand with you. We see this happening in Burkina Faso. We see this happening in Mali. We see this happening in Niger. And it needs to happen to Congo.
Okay, now let us talk about just something very interesting. Uh, we know we all love music. We listen to Congolese music. I was influenced by Congolese music. I've got many friends, Congolese friends. I have made music with them. Uh, but this particular musician, Kofi Olomide, he has been given uh, a position of a cultural ambassador. What is your take on that, Nobert?
I think Kofi Olomide is one of the last famous Congolese musicians of our generation. He's a good musician, he's a clever person, and he contributed a lot in way of changing the Congolese music. And to give him these mandates to become the cultural ambassador, I think is the big weight for him, and he can push effectively things forward. But you know, those days, the opinion in Congo have been a little bit stuck about the Kofi Olomide because he made a comment in a show in national television about the war in the East, and he said, I can quote him, that there is no war in the East. He say, what happened in the East that we have been knocked down by Rwanda, by Uganda, by other people. So we don't have any force because those people, they just come to knock us down. And I think he's a cultural ambassador. So his word got a kind of a weight. And I will end by a proverb. There is a proverb that says, if you have been bitten by a dog, it means that the dog reminds you that you also got to teach that you can do the same. So now yeah, most of people, the government especially, they were against what Kofi Olomide said. But it's not the problem to be against, or but it's just to prove that something needs to be done to end the war. So I think that is really the deep message of Kofi Olomide. Is please let us sit down together. Let us put the right people on the right place, and let us really talk seriously about how could we end this war, ongoing war, because women continue to be raped. We got the Mumbondo near Kinshasa, but it seems that there is not really a serious involvement of a series of people to say, what must we do to end this war? And especially because we will now have the vacuum of the peacekeeper leaving. So how this vacuum will be filled if we are not giving resources to our army?
Okay, and what about Sly? What do you think about this? Because it looks like he's also denying that there is no war in Congo.
Mhm. I think
Yeah,
what he
I think this
said,
is,
sorry,
yeah, go on,
no,
go
no,
on.
I think Kofi is saying something that was already said by many people in the government. But the only reason why people are attacking him, the government is attacking him at the moment, is because he's saying it at the time that is not convenient for them. Because Jules Alingete, who is one of our officials, has said it to American investors last year. He said, there is no war here. The war is 2,000 miles away. He even led to an artist creating a track record called 2,000 Miles Away because he was that outrageous that they say there is no war here. And Kofi is right in the sense of going back to what I said in the beginning. There is no political will to fight that war because for a war to happen, there needs to be a fight back. What is happening at the moment? Our army is taking hit. Our army is being putting some resistance on the ground, but we are not fighting back. I'll give you a concrete example. A civilian airport of Goma was bombed by drones and rockets of Rwanda last year, if not this year. There has been no a single military response from DR Congo on Rwandan soil. As a matter of fact, as far as I know, since this conflict has started for the last 20 years, every single battle has happened on Congolese soil. When Congo has more than the military capacity to strike our enemy on his territory. So what does that tell us? We have an air float, we have airlines, air force, should I rather say, that the enemy doesn't have, and yet our planes rarely cross the border. Whose choice is that? I'll let you make your own conclusion. Is Kofi right saying there is a war?
Okay, so I I think probably in the upcoming programs we want really to concentrate on see how uh, the war in DRC East, how it is being conducted, and why that war still rages on. You see, some people might suggest that war is created just to destabilize the region so that foreign companies can come and take whatever they want to take. Because you will actually, I have not seen any foreigner or anyone working for a foreign company dying in Eastern Congo apart from the Congolese themselves. So those kind of things we will really need to sit down and really do proper research, and so that we can actually present our facts. You know, as I said earlier, when you are discussing these issues, you need to take away the emotions, because that's how many European powers they manage to defeat people, because they don't involve emotions. They actually say, okay, we want to go and get that one, we go get that. Whether people die, they will die. Now the thing with Congo which disturbs me most, the chaos has been created. Now it looks like it is irreversible. We can't talk about the development of Congo. uh, no one is actually concerned. I, I'm not, no, but let me ask this question. Do you really think, if you dig deep, does the government of Tshisekedi have a plan of how to develop Congo in the next 10 years or 15? I don't know. Do you think there is such a kind of programs going on right now?
No, because if there was that kind of a program, we would, as I said, when we got a political party, we just got election and now won by the Labour, but all those political parties published their manifesto. And now we are still waiting for the manifesto or the plan of the now government. And as I said before, by the time we are waiting for this plan, people who got ideas of a plan need to work also. You know, during the last elections, there was one of the candidates who is a professor of a university, an economist, who work also in international community, whatever. He said when he came for the election that he wrote a special Marshall Plan for the DRC. But unfortunately, no one has seen this Marshall Plan. So this is the time to say, to explain to this professor, you are a clever person. So you told us about the Marshall Plan for the Congo. Please, could you bring us this plan so that we could really check and
Oh, oh, by the way, let me
if
ask
it's
this
doable?
question.
So I
Yeah.
think an appeal must, yeah.
Okay. So let me ask this question because it is very interesting. We have been talking about all this, but we haven't even spoken about the opposition party in DRC. Who is the opposition party?
No, I think you're right. You know, the same thing we are talking against the power, the government, the regime. The now opposition is very, very weak. Because we live in the UK, most of the time I take the example of the UK. When you have a party in ruling the country, what the opposition they do, they got what we call the shadow cabinet. So it means that those people who are in opposition are preparing themselves that in case that we got power, this is the way really we will manage the power. But the problem of the Congo, not only that the government is not published or issue any plan, But the opposition is speechless, is a little bit weak. So both sides, the Congolese people looks like, and also, as I said, people who got ideas also, professor of universities or others, free thinkers, they need also to come out with their ideas so that in front of the history will say, oh, in the XY time, there was a guy who came with XY idea. So we are, the people is really in a kind of an incredible roundabout of, from the regime, there is no plan. From the opposition, there is no plan. And from the between bracket clever persons, there's no plan.
Okay, so do you want Sly? You want to
Yeah,
add something?
yeah. I wanna take a slight different approach on that question. It is clear that in DR Congo at the moment, the opposition has been severely weakened following the last election by agreeing in the first place to take part into this masquerade, where we have found and recorded and publicly made available videos of people with voting machines at home. It was lost from the get go. Okay, so now they're trying to find themselves a political health, and that's going to be a real challenge for them. And they failed to create a coalition to put themselves together to have a unique candidate, which is not the only condition to succeed, but would have given them more weight. And that has further weakened them because people have seen that they were not able, in many cases, to put their egos aside for the interest of the nation. My analytical view on the Congo in regard to solution is not that there is no ideas. It's the fact that at the moment, anybody that's going out there and putting an idea to fix Congo is wasting their time because once again, there is no political will. I've heard horror stories of Congolese from the diaspora with projects that have come and given to the government. Very simple project that could make a huge amount of difference in people's life, whether it's just in transport, whether it's in telecom, and they've seen those projects sitting on people's desk collecting dust because the person that need to action the project want to get a cut that is unreasonable. So that tells you that it's not the idea that is lacking, is the political will because people are giving ideas, people are being discouraged and say, I will never invest there again. I'm going to go to Cameroon. I'm going to go to Saudi Arabia. There are other African countries at the moment that are benefiting from Congolese brain because those people have tried to invest in our country but have found themselves years after years being disappointed. So that's my take on that. I don't think it's a case of
No,
history will
Africa.
blame you
If I
for.
can't just, if I can't jump on what you said, no, and that is the problem of people who have ideas. Is, we need to learn from history. After the Second War, there was this Marshall Plan and there was the Dutch Plan for Japan. So you need to have a package of activities, a package of a project. You can't just, the Congo problems goes till 30, 40 years ago. So you can't come just with a small project, for example, solving the problem of water without solving the problem of electricity or without solving the problem of salary. So it must be a package of activity. I got a training with the team of the former president Barack Obama. What made Barack Obama? He became with the theory of change. Is you need to put a lot of activity around so that you created a synergy. But most of the time, what we do, some person he got his idea, he goes there and it's not working. I got the opportunity, and I would end by there. I got an opportunity to interview Mr. Jules Alingeti, which is the general finance inspector. And what he told me, look, Nobert, the corruption in the Congo is so huge. So for me to succeed, what I will do, I will bring a package of policies with a lot of trained inspector. I will spread around the country so that it can make a difference. So that's what we need to learn. For example, the amount of money people are still in Congo, it's billion, billion and billion. And all those things could be stopped from the diaspora because all those people, when they steal the money in the Congo, they bring the money in the diaspora. So why not to create a kind of a tax force to link with, the Mr. Julia Linget to say, look, We are working the diaspora and you are working the country. When you have any information about people who steal million, please leak it to us so that we will fight from the out. As we go to the combat and we fought for how many years against the Kabila regime. Now we will become the combatant of people who steal the money from the Congo. So this is what something we could do. But it needs to be done as a package, not to go alone with just a single project. No, it will not work.
Mm. Okay, so Sly, I know you want to say something. You will come back, but what are we expecting to see on the 2nd of August? Where is? I know it is going to be. Let me see. Yeah, what are we expecting to see?
So on the 2nd of August, we're going to be at Amnesty International in central London, where we will have our moment of commemoration. We will have an address from Dr. Deborah Kayembe, the former head of University of Edinburgh, who's our patron. We will also be able to be hearing stories from survivors that we're going to be playing on that day, that could be sharing their story. We would light a candle of hope in members of those that we have lost, and also to encourage those who are still fighting for a better Congo. It'll be a moment of exchange of stories. If you want to hear about Congolese voices, get the Congolese view on this conflict, to understand the real story of real people, how they've been affected. And this year thing, we're talking about justice and dignity. So we have some Congolese lawyers talking about how we can help the government to enforce justice, or how we can use international justice to help make people accountable for the crimes that have been committed in Congo. So that's in a nutshell what is going to be happening. There's going to be a lot more, but I can't give it all away.
Fantastic. Now, I think we have kind of reached the end of the program. There is plenty of things to talk about. As I always say, what is the strategy? Say, for example, the strategy for the people in the diaspora to actually influence the government of DRC, to tell them, look, we are here, we can contribute, we send money, and the money that we are sending as in the remittance, they are actually easing the pressure of the government to create jobs, because people are sending money to their relatives. So, what do you think would be the best strategy to tackle this, to start actually creating awareness of what is happening?
I think our main problem as Congolese and most of Africans is we believe to miracle. I think to talk about strategy, to talk about a project, to talk about a plan is important for us to be trained to. Remember, I told the last time about the need of a godfather. So the godfather is someone who acts as an umbrella. And I think I mentioned also about the fact that we got now a new ambassador in London who is a open-minded person, the Professor Ngonko Ndolant, who is now doing the first job he's trying to do now is to try to publish the first Congolese community and leaders directory. So that will help for the visibility of the Congolese communities and Congolese community, Congolese leaders, businessmen. So and I think that's from there. We got a lot of intelligent people, especially young people. We got, for example, an association of Congolese engineers. Very, very important, very, very interesting. But what we need to do now, we need to have a kind of a special training. We need to be trained to become change makers. We need to to do a kind of SWOT analysis to check what we got, what we don't have, and why really every time that we try to do something is not making that change happen. So I think, and that needs, and that will bring us, for example, to have, as the question you asked us, to have a proper manifesto. Why not to think about a manifesto for the Congolese diaspora? So that a published manifesto where everyone will read to know exactly. And the importance of a published manifesto, it helps us also to do the evaluation. Why or why not? So I think it's important to start by, as the ambassador is trying to do it, a directory, but and then to probably to have the first ever diaspora conference or meeting or summit, and then to end up with a manifesto, and that will help us really to move forward.
Okay, so and Sly, would you like to
Yeah,
add on to that?
certainly.
Yes? Okay, go ahead.
I think what Norbert says is definitely true, and I fully agree with him. I think there's also two things that I like to always mention that our people are not really used to. First thing is to mention the fact that this is not going to be a short-term project. We have to be willing to accept that resolving the issues of Congo and of Africa as a whole is going to be a long-term project. It has to be something that is looked at. We're going to be getting here in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We need to start thinking that way. Not we're working so that in next year or in 2 months things get resolved. Because if we work in that way, then we get quickly disheartened. The second thing I want to say is we should not narrow ourselves, which our community find themselves often doing, to the Congolese community, because the Congo problem is not just depending on Congo, it's an international problem. So it's about us as African to start uniting with other communities. And that's whether it's Pan-African community, whether it's European and other people, we need to start building allies and start what I would say, the word I was looking for is we need to start to institutionalize the struggle, meaning we need to start building institution, which is essentially what Noble was referring to. But I'll give you an example of something that I've said last week when I was at BLM conference in central London. At the moment, here in London, UK, and this is not just a matter of the Congolese community. I'm speaking here for the whole African community. We do not have a single Pan-African school that opened from Monday to Friday. But we build schools in Africa. We build orphanage in Africa. We fund university. We build businesses in Africa. But meanwhile, our children here are finding themselves in jail and on the street. Who's going to look after our children here? How can we make a difference, a very big difference back home, if here, where we are, where our communities are, we're not looking after the future? Who's going to be looking after our children? They're going to a school where they tell them that your history starts from a place of slavery. The Black History Month is about what happened in America, in the US, and Martin Luther King. They don't tell you about the struggle of Black people here in Britain to be able to ride the bus. They don't tell you about what the Windrush generation experienced when they come here to build the NHS. That tells you things that makes you feel inferior. They don't tell you why is it that a Nigerian speak English when we are not English speaking. So we need to start really looking into that. So as university, which is a school of African and Oriental studies, is not an institution built by us or owned by us. It's built to study us. It's about time we do what other communities do, which is invest in our youth. And I believe that that's part of the long-term plan that we need to have. We need to be serious. And once we get on that plan, then we can start looking at building institutions. Then we can start looking at lobbying and actually having policy that will make African presidents come here to ask for permission rather than come here to give us promises. I would like to
Okay,
stop
well,
there.
that's that's very, you put it very, very well. My last question is this. It's not really a question. I just want to find out what would be the best way to put on an exhibition, either during the Black History Month. I don't like this idea of Black History Month because it comes once in a year. What would be the best way to put on a show about the Congo, DRC, not the DRC of today, but from 100 years ago until now? I have been discussing with Nobert. I have got few ideas. Maybe we need to sit down and look at them and see, because we need to organize ourselves academically, like you are doing. Otherwise, people are not going to pay attention to what we are saying. Remember, I said Congo is the giant of Africa. You know, look, I'm not Congolese, but I'm not afraid to say because I know what it is. So when people come about and say this is giant of Africa, this and that, we know which one is the giant of Africa. So we need to look at these ideas, and if we can get help from outside, fine. But if we don't, we do it ourselves. As for that, I'm there 100%. So I think we have really discussed a lot of things. So I'm looking forward to come at the 2nd of August. I want to hear all these speakers what they're saying, and if you can organize a short interview so that I can interview these guys, that would be even more. I will appreciate that more. So as right as for now, I think we let us stop here because we have got plenty to discuss. My idea is to have a weekly show just talking about Congo. You know, we can talk about culture, we can talk about music. You know, you go to the British Museum, you see the stuff that the Congolese people have I've been there. I go there and spend hours and hours filming, taking photographs. You would be surprised. But people don't know. And some of them don't know the value of those things. So, on that note, guys, thank you very much again for honoring this time. And I'm sure we are going to discuss more about Congo. So, until next time, bye bye. So, all right. Yes, so you have been watching Africans in London TV, and my guests were Nobert Mputu, a journalist and a writer, and Sly Mido. He's, can I say maybe he's an activist? I don't know, but he's a very intelligent guy who is organizing this event that you need. Whether you are Congolese or you're not Congolese, Congo is in Africa. The thing is that we Africans, especially us in the diaspora, we need now to start fighting together or coming together. You know, this idea of using the word diaspora, we just use the word diaspora, but it doesn't mean anything if we cannot actually get together. Whether you are from Congo, whether you're from Ghana, Sierra Leone, Uganda, whatever. You know, Kwame Nkrumah said all that independence means nothing until the whole of Africa is liberated. Now, let me leave you with this. Africa is not yet liberated. Oginga Odinga said this, that the flags are flying, but underneath, lots of tears. I will leave with you that. So until then, watch out for another episode on Congo Now.